Hey everyone, welcome back. Get comfortable. Today we aren't just doing a coin review or drawing triangles on a chart. Today we are talking about the very thing that will decide the fate of your money for the next 10 years. We're talking about the rules of the game. Have you heard the phrase regulatory clarity? Sounds boring, right? Like we're sitting in a law school lecture. But trust me, these two words are the only thing standing between XRP at 50 cents and XRP at $5, $10, or even $50. Today, we are going to dissect the so-called Clarity Act, revisit the hellish kitchen of the SEC lawsuit, figure out why Patrick McHenry is a name you need to know, and understand why XRP ended up in the eye of the storm that is changing the entire global financial system. This isn't just crypto. This is a war for transparency. Let's dive in. Part 1. The Wild West and why we need a sheriff. Let's be honest. For a long time, crypto was the Wild West. Remember 2017? ICOs on every corner, scams, promises of going to the moon, dog coins. Was it fun? Yes. Was it safe for big money? Absolutely not. Imagine you are a major bank or an investment fund managing trillions of dollars. You want to get into crypto. You want to use blockchain technology to move money around the world in seconds, rather than days like the old dusty SWIFT system does. You look at XRP. The tech is fire. The speed is lightning. The fees are pennies. But then, a guy in a suit walks out of Washington and says, "Hey, maybe that's illegal. Maybe we'll fine everyone tomorrow. Maybe we'll just ban this token entirely." What do you do as an investor? Exactly. You run. You hide your money under the mattress. Because uncertainty is the killer of capital. This is exactly why we need this clarity. And this is where the concept of the Clarity for Digital Tokens Act comes onto the stage. What is it? Let's dig into history. Back in 2021, Congressman Patrick McHenry introduced this bill. It was based on the safe harbor idea proposed by Hester Pierce. By the way, Hester is our person on the inside at the SEC. They call her Crypto Mom because she seems to be the only one there with any common sense. The essence of the Clarity Act was ingeniously simple. Imagine you launch a startup. They give you 3 years. 3 years. During this time, you can develop the network, sell tokens, raise money, and no one touches you. You aren't violating securities laws as long as your network is decentralizing. If this law had passed back then, in 2021, we would be living in a different reality right now. We wouldn't have the lawsuits against Coinbase, Kraken, or Binance US. And most importantly, we wouldn't have had this endless nightmare with Ripple. But, as we know, politics is a dirty game. The bill got stuck. And instead of clarity, we got Gary Gensler and his policy of regulation by enforcement. Part 2. The attack on Ripple. The day the earth stood still. Let's go back to December 2020. Many of you remember this day. Christmas was right around the corner. The mood was festive. And then, bam! The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, files a lawsuit against Ripple Labs, Brad Garlinghouse, and Chris Larson. The accusation? Selling unregistered securities worth $1.3 billion. The market crashed. XRP fell into the abyss. Exchanges started delisting it. Coinbase, Kraken, everyone got scared. It was a moment where many people panic sold their coins and are still kicking themselves today. But why Ripple? Why not Ethereum? Why not Bitcoin? Here is where it gets interesting. Conspiracy theory? Maybe. But the facts speak for themselves. Ripple, with their XRP, was aiming at the holy of holiest, the banking system. They didn't just want to create internet money. They wanted to replace the plumbing of the global financial system. They challenged SWIFT. And SWIFT is control. SWIFT is geopolitics. The SEC claimed, XRP is a share in Ripple. You buy XRP hoping for profit from the company's efforts. This is called the Howey test, an old law from 1946 about orange groves. Can you imagine? They are trying to judge 21st century technology by laws, from a time when color TV didn't even exist. Ripple replied, "Guys, you are delusional. XRP is a currency. It's a utility token. If Ripple disappears tomorrow, XRP will continue to exist on the ledger. It's like oil or gold. If an oil company goes out of business, the oil doesn't stop burning." And the war began. A war that cost Ripple over $200 million just in legal fees. But they weren't just fighting for themselves. They were fighting for the entire industry, for that very clarity that Congress couldn't provide through legislation. Part 3. The Battle for the Hinman Documents and SEC Hypocrisy. During this process, dirt surfaced that would make any normal person's hair stand on end. I'm talking, of course, about the William Hinman documents. Who is Hinman? He's the former director of corporation finance at the SEC. In 2018, he went out and said, "Ethereum is not a security." The market exhaled. But wait, why is Ethereum not a security but XRP is? Ripple grabbed onto this like a pit bull. They demanded, "Show us the emails. How did you write this speech? Who paid you?" The SEC kicked and screamed, made up excuses, and hid the documents for years. Judge Sarah Netburn literally had to force them. Hand over the documents. And when we finally learned the truth, it turned out that inside the SEC, there was no clarity either. They were arguing among themselves about whether crypto was a security. Lawyers told Hinman, "Bill, don't say that. You'll confuse the market." But he said it anyway. Why does this matter for our topic of the Clarity Act? Because it proves, without a clear law written by Congress, regulators act like feudal lords. I'll execute him if I want. I'll pardon him if I want. I'll give the green light to ETH. Maybe because my friends have a stake in it, and I'll drown XRP. It was precisely the absence of a legislative act, like the Clarity for Digital Tokens Act, that allowed this lawlessness to happen. The law needs clear criteria. Decentralized? Yes, no. Is there utility? Yes, no. Instead, we got the Hinman test, which he just made up out of thin air. Part 4. The Victory. Partial, but sweet. July 2023. A day that will go down in history. Judge Annalisa Torres delivers her ruling. Listen closely, because this is the legal clarity we've been waiting for. The judge said, "XRP in itself is not a security." Boom. Checkmate. Gary Gensler. The token is just code. It's like a digital commodity. However, she split the sales into two parts. Exchange sales. Programmatic sales. When you, I, or any trader bought XRP on an exchange, we didn't know who we were buying from. We didn't sign a contract with Ripple. Therefore, it is not a security. Victory. Institutional sales. When Ripple sold XRP directly to hedge funds at a discount, signing contracts the court deemed that an investment contract. But for us, regular people, and for the technology as a whole, the first statement is what matters. XRP is the only asset, besides Bitcoin, in the US with clear legal status. Not a security. This is that. Clarity. Only it was won through blood and sweat in court, not given by Congress. Part 5. What is happening now? Laws of 2024, 2025. But a court ruling is just a court ruling. We need a law, a federal law, so that no new head of the SEC can just change their mind. Right now, a massive political game is playing out in the US. Have you heard of FIT21? Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act. This bill passed the House with support from both Republicans and Democrats. This law effectively cements Ripple's victory. It clearly delineates what the SEC controls securities and what the CFTC controls commodities. And guess what? XRP fits perfectly into the commodities category under CFTC control. Why is this cool? Because the CFTC isn't the evil cop. It's a regulator used to working with grain markets, oil, gold. They understand how market mechanisms work. Plus, don't forget the US elections. Crypto has become a political force. Trump is openly supporting crypto. Democrats are panic shifting their rhetoric because they realize 50 million Americans own crypto. Ignoring them means losing the election. We are on the verge of passing a full-fledged equivalent of the Clarity Act. As soon as it's signed by the president, whoever that may be, the floodgates will open. Part 6. Why XRP? Utility versus hype. Now that we've sorted out the laws, let's talk about why banks even need this XRP once all the legal issues are resolved. Look, the world is changing. BRICS, de-dollarization, economic fragmentation. Money needs to move fast. There is this thing called ODL, on-demand liquidity, now rebranded as Ripple payments. How does it work now? If a bank in the US wants to send money to a bank in Thailand, it needs to hold a pile of cash in Nostro accounts in the local currency. This money just sits there as dead weight. We are talking about trillions of dollars of frozen capital worldwide. With XRP, this isn't necessary. Bank sends dollars. Dollars convert to XRP. XRP flies across the ledger in 3 seconds. In Thailand, XRP converts to baht. Done. No frozen accounts. Money is freed up to work. This isn't just buy low, sell high. This is a solution to a multi-trillion-dollar liquidity problem. And for this, you need legal clarity. No major bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, will use a system if there is even a 1% risk that a regulator will ban it. Now, after Judge Torres's ruling and the upcoming legislation, that risk is trending towards zero. Part 7. Stablecoin, ETF, and the new era. But Ripple isn't standing still. While we wait for the law, they are launching RLUSD, their own stablecoin. Why, if we have XRP? It's a genius move. The stablecoin provides stability for settlements, while XRP remains the bridge and the gas for the network. It boosts liquidity on the XRP ledger, and the cherry on top, the XRP ETF. We saw what happened to Bitcoin after the ETF was approved. Wall Street money flowed in like a river. BlackRock, Fidelity. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse says in every interview, an XRP ETF is inevitable. Why? Because XRP has clarity. Ethereum has questions hanging over it. Solana has questions. XRP has a court ruling. It will be very hard for the SEC to deny an ETF for an asset that a court has declared is not a security. As soon as an ETF appears, any pensioner can buy XRP through their retirement account. That is the massive money that sends the price into the stratosphere. Conclusion. A lesson in patience. Friends, let's wrap this up. The story of the Clarity Act isn't just about paragraphs and laws. It's a story about resilience. XRP holders are probably the most battle-hardened people in crypto. They called us crazy, a cult, said the coin was going to zero. We survived the SEC lawsuit, the bear market, the panic, but look at where we are now. We have legal status. The only ones. Laws in the US are being written for us. FIT21 and Clarity Act equivalents. Banks are starting to wake up. An ETF is on the horizon. Regulatory clarity is the foundation. You can't build a skyscraper in a swamp. For a long time, crypto was a swamp. Now, thanks to Ripple's fight and upcoming laws, the ground has hardened. Construction on the skyscraper is beginning. Those who have the patience to wait until this law comes into full force and the banks flip the switch will be rewarded. This isn't financial advice, you know that. It's just logic. The world needs fast money. The old system is dying. The new system is being built on clarity, trust, and technology. And XRP is sitting right in the center of that intersection. Thanks for listening to the end. Do your research, watch the politicians' hands, and most importantly, don't give away your coins for pennies. Clarity is coming. See you in the next episode.